In this video, we're going to look at key things, meaning if you were to live your life, design a culture, focus on just a couple of things that would make more difference than any other thing in creating a high level of sustainable well-being, what might that be? And this is a great topic, and I think I would begin with the topic. Meaning, if you take this question down to first principles, you're looking at intelligence, the efficiency with which energy is transformed into sustainable well-being. And that's the key question, right? So we start with the question. Spending time with this question in one's own life as an individual, as a family, as a community, as a cult or culture. What is the most efficient ways of converting energy into sustainable well-being at different scales? Now, of course, the first scale is mastering this as an individual. And this has some benefits because in order to master this as an individual, one has to learn the system, meaning the optimal way to create well-being in a dysfunctional family is to learn to hack the dysfunction. Meaning if dad gives candy away when he's drunk, but beats you up, when he's sober, then you learn to ask dad for candy when he's drunk. If you are incarcerated for doing intelligent things in your cult, then you learn to lie, right? Or you learn to be stupid, right? Because if you do intelligent things that are above average in your cult, and you're arrested for violating the norms of the cult, then you learn to be stupid or you learn to be an outlaw, which is simply to be outside of the law. Now, all laws have a continuum of intelligence, meaning many laws create vast amounts of unnecessary suffering and cost a lot of time, money, and natural resources to do so. You can think of marijuana laws, where you will destroy a family, likely create a delinquent, cost the taxpayer $1 million to stop someone having a good time in a less destructive way than either alcohol, cigarettes, or sex addiction or whatever it might be, that would be the alternative diversion. So congratulations, cult, you've just spent $1 million of public money to, harass and intimidate one of your own people to be stupider than they otherwise would be, right? And so, outlaw simply means outside of the law. Now, every cult is, fascinated with itself, and so it's the law, right? No, it's one of 10,000 versions of law, of one of 10,000 cultures or cults, 95% of which are already extinct, and 95% of the laws and cult memes that are actively present today will be extinct in the next 10,000 years because they're stupid, meaning everything is on a continuum of stupidity or a continuum of intelligence. And, particularly once information is disseminated more and more widely, more and more freely, and you get data sets, you cannot help but notice that these people are a lot happier than you, that And at some point it begins to bother you. And so there's a movement towards intelligence based on the underlying drive to feel sustainably better and avoid feeling chronically worse. So that movement, which is sometimes accelerated by the one that steps outside a law created by a cult at a moment in time. Because ultimately, all of the intelligent things, or at least many of the intelligent things that we will be doing in the next 1,000 years, but do not have the intelligence to do today, are outside of the norm, or there'd be no possibility of evolution. And so the question is just, how do we arrive at the new norm? Do we arrive at it through data? Do we arrive at it through force? Do we arrive at it through politics of expediency? What is the way to arrive at a new norm? And I would suggest that the most intelligent way to arrive at a new norm is to analyze the probable norms, things that could easily be done, and look at which of those norms yield the highest amount of sustainable well-being, were they to become the norm, per unit of energy invested. And that movement, first to ask the question, what is important? What is valuable? What do we focus on? And then secondly, to answer the question analytically, with analyzing joy, for example. What excites us and brings out the most joy? And how sustainable is that joy curve, right? Do we move towards it and then find that, it was an exciting idea, but, by the time that we're enacting it, we're hesitant or not enjoying it at all? That curve of joy can be measured. But here are some initial thoughts with ways to answer this question. Number one, how many minutes of your life, of your day, are spent doing things or getting better at doing things that directly improve your or other people's sustainable well-being? So you get out of bed, and what do you do that enhances your own sustainable well-being? Now, in a capitalist cult, investments are very easy to understand because, to those of us that bow down and pray to the god of money, right? I can't waste money. I've got to make more money. I've got to get more money, right? These are all prayers to money. They're subservient to the goal of obtaining money. Well, there's credit card money, right? That's the money that you apply for. You take 5 minutes and you sign up online, and you get $20,000 or whatever it is, and you go out and spend it on various tchotchkes, and then you have to pay it back with interest, right? That's not sustainable money because the tchotchkes go down in value. They go down in hedonic adaptive value, meaning if they delighted you to buy the tchotchke, that's the best you're ever going to feel about it. Next week, you're not going to even notice it, and then in the third week, you're going to be dusting it, right? The thing that you're not using, right? So it's already lost half of its financial value. It's not giving you any lift, and you're now maintaining it. And then you move to another house, and you have to get a bigger moving truck so that you can move the tchotchke so that you can dust it in the new house. So that's kind of the extreme, negative And then meanwhile, you're paying 18% compounded interest to have purchased the tchotchkes. So that's not sustainable money. Sustainable money would be you learn a skill, you learn to bring value. Massage is a great example. It's like if you can make someone feel 3 times better immediately and twice as good for the rest of the day, such that romantic overtures are made to the spouse, the partner in that person's life, and the kids get to relax a little bit. Mom and dad are not at it again. That's a wonderful contribution to well-being. And unlike credit card debt, if you'll put that money into something like Bitcoin that's appreciating in value, or Tesla stock, or something that's growing, that's also good for the world. Blockchain technology discourages corruption, right? It also develops mathematics and computers. It encourages a new way of thinking. It's a way of rebalancing governmental and individual power. So there's lots of elements within blockchain that are good for you sustainably. And then it goes up in value relative to inflationary assets. The most money, paper money, is worth less every single year. It can buy, if you have $100, next year it can buy less of a house than it could have bought this year. The year after it buys even less of a house, right? That's not a good store of investment. To buy a house is, of course, one probable path, but that's kind of the difference in the financial paradigm. To invest in something that will hold its value and appreciate in value, that will keep the ability to earn even more in the future, investing in yourself, maybe taking a secondary massage course or whatever it is. And then you're spending time, right? So this, how many minutes of the day are you spending time in such a way that your life is going to be sustainably better? That the life of those around you, which are affected by you, are going to be sustainably better. And in such a way that, the people you do business with, et cetera, are going to have sustainably better lives. This is huge. Now, this does not have to do with money directly. A grandmother could provide 10 years of sustainable well-being for a child through intelligent grandmothering. A grandmother can help a child navigate through adolescence. A grandfather can help someone move into a business rather than into addictions of various forms. So in our cult, we don't pay grandmothers and grandfathers, and so they naturally assume in a capitalist paradigm that they have no value. So bringing awareness. So if you brought the awareness of the value of a grandmother, of a grandfather, to a grandmother and a grandfather, and they became aware of their value, well, this is incredible, right? So then someone that understands that they have value is going to take more care in what they're doing. And because they're taking more care in what they're doing, they're having more impact, they're having more value, right? So value is the engagement that creates sustainable well-being. Grandparents have extraordinary value potential. Parents have extraordinary value potential. Teachers have extraordinary value potential. So anything that is sustainably increasing the value, the sustainable well-being for oneself and others, is part of a network, right? So if you're the only one in a family that is producing value and the others are sitting around, getting fat, watching TV and, generating the typical 100 tons of, quote, garbage that, a Westerner will put into a landfill, you have, some value in one portion. Let's say there's 4 members of the family sitting around, there's one person creating value. Well, if you turn that to 2 people creating value and 2 people sitting around on the couch, you've just doubled the value of generated by the family. Now, if you turn that into 3 people creating value, 4 people creating value, and creating value is not something you retire from. Doing stupid work that you don't enjoy, that doesn't really help anyone, pushing papers from one side of a desk to another that shouldn't have been written in the first place because they don't produce value, they produce suffering. Of course you retire from that job regardless of age. But creating value, joy, well-being for yourself and others in a meaningful way, learning to bake and create delicious pastries, having fun, helping other people and oneself be more beautiful, growing flowers, singing, massage, dancing in a way that brings joy to your own body, of course, to sing, to dance, it's healthy. Why retire from that? Growing delicious food, why retire from that? Cooking delicious food, you see, because it's enjoyable to you and it's enjoyable to others. Painting, creating something beautiful and discussing it. Why retire from joy? And so the more minutes of the day that is spent creating sustainable well-being for self and others, that's a key metric of intelligence for any culture. So a culture that makes its children miserable to prepare them for a job they don't like so that they can then retire and contribute very little is a very low-value culture. And so the question is, how do you iterate that as an individual, as a family member, as a co-creator of a new family, right? So design, cultural analysis is one of the most potent regions because the cult comprises the default mode network, which determines 90% of what's done and how and when it's done. That's all in the default mode network. We get up at this time, why? We eat these things at the, why? It's just a default. So the single most important thing you can do is take your default mode network down to first principles and say, unit by unit, how much total time, money, and natural resources is spent doing this in this way? And how much sustainable well-being for how many people is generated by doing that in that way? And what would be 10 different ways to do it 10 times better? And then which one of those do you want to practice and start iterating? This is the single highest value. It's intelligent design with the focus on the felt human experience rather than someone else's definition of what is or isn't in style. Happiness is always in style to an intelligent person, and an idiot cannot evaluate what is or is not happy and what is or is not important, right? To a fool, having clean lines or consistency with this or that or whatever is far more important than enjoying their life or anyone else enjoying their life or having a good feedback dynamic with the end user. So I will leave it at that. Hi, I'm Dane Rose. All knowledge begins with a paradigm, and out of that paradigm comes an idea, an awareness that we adopt, reject, or synthesize into something better. It doesn't become wisdom, it doesn't become useful until we take action, until we integrate it into not only our thoughts, but our feelings, our body, our words, and our way of being. For that to occur, we have to move from the passive media paradigm into more active engagement. In the link below, in the More Information section, is an invitation to join a very small, deliberately filtered, high-quality discussion with a group of people who share a common language and want to work with these ideas, with me and with one another, with the sole goal of creating 10 times more sustainable well-being for ourselves and those around us per unit of energy invested. Thank you for watching.